Hello again, and welcome to the third installment of explaining the UAT courses. This course that we're going to be looking at today is the Applied I Ching Bagua. So what we will be doing in this course is looking at how we can use the I Ching and specifically a technique called channel conversion therapy. So this course has many components to it. Of course, we're going to be looking at the theory of the yin and yang with the I Ching and the five elements. We'll be looking at how we're going to go from five elements to six elements, which is the basis of the unified acupuncture theory model. We'll be looking at different types of interactions. We're going to be looking at dynamic interactions and static interactions. And we'll be looking at what I call the channel code. So the channel code is how we apply the Bagua, which is the 8 different trigrams of the I Ching, to the different channels. Once you've created all of this information, we'll be able to create 12 patterns. We're going to see that some of them are going to be based on the levels of the channels. There's going to be some that are based on the UAT levels, and some are based with relationships of entry and exit points or Chinese clock logic. And then we're going to also be looking at, we can use this to treat symptoms that are on whole vertical areas of the body. This is also very useful for mental health and insomnia. We can also use it for external pathogens, etc. So again, this is a sort of a mix in between pain course, which would be the UAT dance of the channels, and it also has some internal work with it, with mental health, insomnia, and functional problems. So it often complements the other two systems. So here's just an example of when we're talking about these theories, the dynamic interactions, is how we can create patterns of where we choose which points and which channels we're using to create a dynamic interaction of yin and yang interacting with each other. And then they also have the static structures or interactions, which gives us a structure for how they're going to hold and respond to each other. That is based on their channel interactions. And then the third part is the channel code, how each gua can be associated with the channel. And then once it's associated with the channel, we can extrapolate specific points to help it interact with other channels. And now here's an example of some of the logic we use. So this is what we talk about the 6 levels of the channels. This is different than the 6 divisions, but we can see how they're going to interact. We're also going to look at the UAT levels. So we're going to be looking at the upper level, the middle level, and the lower level, which will also give us indications on how to treat the upper burner, the lower burner, and the middle burner and specifically. And we're going to be using the clock to give us 3 different treatments specifically for vertical parts of the body, entry exit points, and some other things also. So this has more patterns that move around and apply to different aspects. Some of them are physical, some of them are psycho-emotional, some of them are functional. So what does this course cover? The first is the theory covered in this course is all the logic that we need to create the static and the dynamic balances of the channels and how we use the Fushigua to acupuncture, applying it to the acupuncture channels and points, which allows us to create our 12 patterns. We're going to see that we're going to have 12 patterns that will work for internal medicine, functional medicine, uh, emotional work and psychological work, as well as some pain patterns. How can this be useful in the clinic? Or what is the usefulness of this course? Well, it's also an introduction to the I Ching in acupuncture. Most masters of acupuncture and towards the end of their life would say, if you don't understand the I Ching, you don't understand acupuncture. Whether that's true or not, who knows? However, this is an introduction of how can I start to interact with the I Ching in a way that's accessible and easy in acupuncture. So it's an entry point into a whole wealth of information. And at the same time, we already have our 12 patterns, so we can start using it right away. And the 12 patterns do allow us to treat some very complex clinical presentations, but we understand what we're doing and how we're doing it. So that is a something that is true in all of the courses that I give is that we don't just go from memorization and saying, here's the pattern. We learn how to build it and understand it both as why we're choosing these points and then how can we apply them. So that is my quick introduction to the I Ching Level 1. And I look very forward to seeing you on one of the courses soon.